Today we are looking at the difference between the preterite tense and the imperfect tense in Spanish. Both of these are past tenses, but they serve a different function depending on how they're used. So the preterite tense, which is what we've talked about in the past, it goes over actions that have a definite ending. They've been completed. A way to look at this, a way to remember this is if you're telling a story in the past, right? You're telling a story about the past. The preterite tense is often used to tell the actions. We went to the store. We bought food. We grabbed the cereal. Anything like that. Bought, went, grab. Those are all actions that have a definite ending because you stopped grabbing, you stopped buying, you stopped going. They were not a repeated action. They were done once. And so they are depicted with the preterite tense in Spanish. The imperfect tense tends to be repeated actions or descriptions. So this is going to be looking at the descriptions. If you're telling a story, this is the descriptions of the people. She was hungry. The weather was sunny. Things like that, okay? We're going to be describing things. Or it would be repeated actions, things that are done more than once or done over a long period of time, or something that doesn't have a definitive ending. Something like when I was 6. Being 6 is something that was done over a long period of time. It's a repeated action of being 6. Another example would be wanting. Like, I wanted to go to Mexico, right? There's no definitive ending for your want. It is a repeated action. You repeatedly wanted to go to Mexico. Some difference would be like, he talked to me. Talked, past tense. That is a repeated thing. Talking is a repeated thing. But he called me would be preterite. So he talked to me would be imperfect tense because it's a repeated action. But he called me is a preterite action because it has a definitive ending. Because once you answer the phone, he's no longer, like, you're talking now. You're not in the middle of calling you. So that's the difference between these two. Preterite tense is going to be looking at actions that have a definitive ending. And the imperfect tense is going to be looking at things that are repeated or descriptions. What we're going to do today is I am going to say some sentences and you need to decide if they are repetido, repeated, or terminaba, ended, like completed. So repetido would be the imperfect tense and terminaba is going to be the preterite tense. Some things to look out for are like indicator words. Like if I'm saying yesterday she bought blah blah blah. If I'm saying yesterday, it is most likely going to be preterite. And if I'm saying like, oh, I always wanted to do something, or I always using that word siempre, it is most likely going to be imperfect because that's a repeated thing, like always. So kind of pay attention to those indicator words that might help. Like if I said last year I went to Mexico, that's an action that is preterite. But if I say for the past year I have wanted to go, that's imperfect because it's a repeated want. So pay attention to those and pay attention to the endings of the verbs, right? So we know our preterite endings. I'm not going to go over them because it's going to be confusing if I just say them. But you can review your preterite endings. And we have our imperfect endings that we looked at yesterday, the aba and the ia. Okay? So pay attention to those and decide which tense is being used in each sentence. Number 1. Leía sus mensajes de texto. Leía sus mensajes de texto. Leía sus mensajes de texto. Number 2. Abriste la puerta. Abriste la puerta. Abriste la puerta. Number 3. Recibió 5 tarjetas. Recibió 5 tarjetas. Recibió 5 tarjetas. Number 4. Me hablaba desde su teléfono. Me hablaba desde su teléfono. Me hablaba desde su teléfono. Number 5. Él me llamó. Él me llamó. Él me llamó. Number 6. Siempre queríamos ir a Costa Rica. Siempre queríamos ir a Costa Rica. Siempre queríamos ir a Costa Rica. Number 7. Fuimos a Costa Rica. Fuimos a Costa Rica. Fuimos a Costa Rica. Number 8. Los estudiantes estudiaban todos los días. Los estudiantes estudiaban todos los días. Los estudiantes estudiaban todos los días.